R3, all right, we understand it's a big deal. All right. For some people, they don't understand why it's such a big deal. And I thought about it. I was like, we talked about the R3 quarter bridge, why it's so massive for XDC, but how about XRP? Yes, how about XRP? Okay. So for my outline, before I get more into this, I want to just share some notes I have with you guys. If you hear the topic of R3 and you just don't quite get it, it's okay. All right. That's a fair question. Some people just, they hear some things. They're like, why is it big? I don't know why it's big, but this guy won't tell me why it's big. Well, basically speaking, it's like this. Global financial leaders rely on R3 Quarter because it is a modern cloud-based DLT platform. Now we know that it doesn't have like a token or anything like that. That's not the point, right? It's a distributed ledger technology. But basically speaking, like Cool Cat always talks about, can it scale? Well, yes, it can. It scales for growth in large volumes. At the end of the day, when we talk about especially XRP, what about when we have that real flip of the switch and we have this utility run coming up and there's all these big things going on, everything we ever dreamed of, right? But can you imagine a situation where it's, oh crap, we have a scalability issue here? Well, enter into R3. They basically are the platform that can scale for growth and larger volumes. And think about it, there will be a tremendous amount of large volume at some point, especially when we see, all these big institutional players coming in, right? So they can scale for growth, large volumes, while offering network model flexibility. Basically speaking, what is that flexibility all about? And if anything, why should it matter to you? Why should you give a crap about Corda? I think you should, because if you understand it, you will realize it's a big deal. So here at Maximus Crypto, we always talk about standards. We talk about ISO TC 307, and later on in the video, we'll share some things to maybe open your eyes, or I don't know. Hopefully it doesn't cause you to like dump your position. I think that'd be ridiculous in regards to XRP or XLM, but that is the Gilbert Verdian Quant Network Standard, right? He introduced it in 2015, went live in 2016. But the key thing we always talk about here is standards, ISO 222 standards, right? All sorts of different standards. Corda also has its own standards and standard sets actually in regards to enable ease of deployment and integration into what existing systems. And the other night we talked about, it's not about necessarily, dismissing all the old systems and so on, but how do you go about integrating new technology, distributed ledger technologies, blockchain, go into Web3, if you will, and how do you integrate that with basically just that, existing systems? Enter in, of course, Corda. You guys may be wondering, before we get into this outline a little bit more, what are the advantages of R3? Great question. In my notes that I have for you, unlike traditional contracts, Corda smart contracts are designed to be private, reducing the risk of exposing sensitive information to unnecessary parties. Right? We don't want no malicious players here, especially don't want another Do Khan, or a Sam Bankman-Fried or whoever, right? So at the end of the day, does this create flexibility, right? You got to have something that's flexible, especially representing old systems or current systems. So Corda, this flexibility allows businesses to streamline their operations, automate processes, and even reduce manual errors. That's good stuff. You want to see stuff like this. All right, this other point, a little bit more of the benefits in regards to Corda. For one, Corda is the fast and future-proof way to build multi-party apps, basically, that run on permissioned, scalable, and secure distributed networks. Kind of mentioned that earlier. And it also mentions that it also goes to other apps and other chains. The next generation of Corda was engineered to meet the needs of customers who are operating at scale in regulated environments. Again, guys, regulated environments. We will get to the point where everything is properly regulated because we have that regulatory framework, and then we have that clarity that everybody's so excited about. This last part, before I get more into this, all right, two main key things I want to talk about. So here at Maximus Crypto, I always talk about how big SBI is, and SBI Group basically. But a lot of times when I do the JASMY coverage, I talk about SBI Japan. We know that Genki Oda is a chairman of SBI Japan. We know that he's a decision maker when it comes to the JVCEA and what his involvement also in regards to the FSA. But the key thing is, he's a decision maker. And in regards to R3, right, they are the largest shareholder. Do you know this? When it comes to the SBI group, right? SBI group is the largest shareholder, right? So R3, who is the largest shareholder, of SBI group, they lead the development of Corda. So that's a big deal, because earlier we were talking about, privacy on chain, and you can't have anything malicious going on. So I'm thinking, okay, Japan is all over that, right? Data privacy and so on. So again, Corda, blockchain platform dedicated to business transactions. And then this final one, before we get like really into the juicy stuff, some people ask, why is Corda not a blockchain? That's a great question, right? Let's answer that. Corda is both a blockchain and not a blockchain, right? That sounds crazy. Corda does not periodically batch up transactions needing confirmation at all into a block and confirms them in one go, basically. Instead, Corda confirms each transaction in real time. And basically speaking, we always talk about real-time gross settlements, RTGS. So R3, like I always said, is all over RTGS like a fat kid on cake. Who better to, team up with in regards to, like, for instance, Ripple's XRP. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to show you some of these key findings and where Mike Cornwell basically brought this to my attention. So please, I'm going to ask you guys again, smash the like. We're not a sponsored channel. I don't get paid to do this or anything like that, basically speaking, but all I do ask is free. It doesn't cost you anything unless you're, don't text and drive by all means, but smash that like because it really does help. I mean, if you hate me and you're like, I just want to listen to this Filipino Ice Cube looking dude, I don't understand what he's saying, I'm not gonna hit the like, whatever the case be, just interact. I thank you for watching the show. But what I want to state is I want to get into what Mike Cornwell retweeted earlier. And for some people, you're gonna look at this and you're gonna say, well, this is brand new. This is brand new news. It's not brand new news. It's not brand new news at all. If anything, I'm going to show you why it's not brand new news. So as you can see on the screen, I don't need to blow it up any more further. It says R3 Universal Settler application to facilitate global payments on Corda. XRP, the first settlement mechanism. That's the point, right? We always like when Crypto Mike shares, good info and so on. But I want to point out why this is a big deal, even though this is old news. And we're going to tie in the old news to the new. So why make such a fuss about this, Max? Why share this with our community about this whole thing with R3? I feel as though I need to, because I feel as though that we talked more enough about XDC with R3 Corda Bridge, but we never talked about this whole thing of XRP with R3 that's been literally established many years ago in 2018. So let's enter into what we have for tonight. And if anything, if you're an XRP holder, you're going to want to hear this. So I want to pull up this. This is where that screenshot was originally referenced. You do see this press release, and basically it talks about how R3 launched a universal settler application to facilitate what? Global payments, of course, on Corda. And it says XRP, the first settlement mechanism. Getting more into this, I want to show you this real quick. It states, basically speaking, that you have this. It says basically R3 built to allow payment obligations raised on the Corda blockchain in regards to application, platform to be made through any of the world's payment systems. So any. And that's one thing that really, really stands out about this. You have, for instance, both traditional and blockchain based. So again, this further solidifies it. And also, look what it says on the bottom right. How many times have we been talking about tokenization here at MaximusCrypto for, I don't know, over a month now, 2 months? I mean, a lot of focus lately on tokenization. Why? Because we could feel it in the air tonight, right? Again, the Phil Collins reference, because when you see Larry Fink or other big institutional players talking about, asset tokenization, eventually securities will be tokenized, bonds will be tokenized. Look what the highlight is: unleashing the power of digital assets with what? Tokenization. So it mentions specifically XRP, and they talk about, for instance, XRP being the first globally recognized cryptocurrency to be supported by the settler. This is straight from R3, and this is many years ago. And some people, I don't know, I guess maybe they forgot about or didn't know, or maybe for a lot of us, let's face it, maybe we don't know because we were never into altcoins at that point. So it's like, well, of course we're not going to know about it, right? This dates back to 2018. And hey, fair enough. That's a good way of looking at it. But, being the first recognized and listed on R3, this mention is big, right? Like it says, recognize cryptocurrency to be the supported settler, if you will, bringing Corda and even XRP ecosystems into closer alignment. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit more. I want to read this next little area because I know it's a lot to take in, right? This Corda settler is an open source core dApp that allows payment obligations arising on the Corda network to be settled via any parallel rail. You always talk about XRP and it's the premier payment rail, right? Well, this is going to basically support crypto, right? Or other crypto assets, any traditional rail capable of providing cryptographic proof of settlement. Think about what you just heard right there. Uniquely, because people ask, well, what makes Corda unique? The Corda settler will verify that the beneficiary's account was credited with the expected payment, automatically updating, of course, the Corda ledger. Now they can talk about this next phase. We already got to this next phase, but if you're wondering what that progress was, the development, right? The settler in itself will support domestic deferred net settlement and real-time gross settlement payments, right? RTGS. So they have one more thing on this quote. This is cool, right? Because it references XRP once again. A blast from the past. The deployment of the Corda settler and its support for the XRP as the first settlement mechanism is an important step in showing how the powerful ecosystems cultivated by two of the world's most influential crypto and blockchain communities can work together. So my thing is this, and we'll get later in the outline, right? I understand, like, I don't even know if he's watching, Bob, what he's saying in regards to, hey, more focus on ISO TC 307 compared to ISO 222, and some guys are like not necessarily for Ripple, or they don't see this thing blasting off. Like some people state, like, well, in reality, like, I don't know if it's going to go more than $10 and so on. R3, once you understand it a little bit more, oh my gosh, is an absolute game changer when you take more of a deeper dive into it, right? So payment obligations, like it says, arise on Corda during the course of business. One party now has one option or multiple to request settlement using XRP. Again, driving that supply and demand. The other party can be notified that the settlement in XRP has been requested, and they must instruct a payment to the required address before the specified deadline. Again, that's where I think ISO 222 definitely comes in, because as we know, right, on the traditional messaging of Swift with the MT messaging layer, you have a case where a message is sent but gets garbled up. You have message truncation. So ISO 222, to enter into this whole thing, we talk about clarity. Literally, is a clear message. So to me, that activates not only that utility layer of what ISO 222 provides, but also solidifies the want and need for other technologies, for instance, XRP, requesting that settlement through what? Through R3. They complement each other, right? It's basically like vanilla ice cream, and let's have a banana split. Let's make it a banana split. Like this is, R3 is the banana, if you will, right? They definitely complement each other. All right, I want to show more about this and why it's such a big deal, because we talked about this for over a year and a half, but I don't know, or I don't think it really resonates in people's head. I don't know if they really, really get it. And that's not to knock on anybody, but if you don't get it, then why talk about it, right? So let's talk about it for a second. So I want to share this with you. Let's jump to this next page real quick. And it goes on to mention right here, this is from ccn.com. And, let's now fast forward. All right, okay, so originally what you saw was from 2018. Let's fast forward to 2021, right? Ripple R3 Corda's new settlement layer now supports XRP, right? Goes into this whole thing, and I don't know, I think it's a big deal. I'm going to blow it up a little bit more just in case you're like, I always make this example. Boomer effing Sooner on his couch with his dog, right? But that's a good example. Anyway, and it says, R3 introduced its first enterprise open source product, Corda, all the way back in 2016. Over that time period of then in 2021, basically, they offer a new element of software suite, right? We always talk about different ones. We talk about, Hyperledger Besu, that software suite, right? But this was a universal settler, right? Not just like, exclusive to the United States, universal all over the world, right? Look at this, Corda app or Corda application aim to allow the things that modern businesses may require of a blockchain product. And like it says, could eventually, I should say could eventually, it is, right? We just need to get that flip of the switch. Work as a translator, think about this for a second, between virtually all crypto tokens as well as fiat. So again, I'm going to tie in all this stuff tonight because I want you guys to understand it's not that we dismiss, and I'll always listen to other person's argument. This is no disrespect to Bob. I think he seems like a nice guy, right? I'm glad he wants to tune into the X spaces. But the point is, I'll hear the other argument, and then I'll look into it and say, okay, I hear your argument, but you can't deny this. And the reason why I state it is because it says it plain as day. You know, this will eventually work as a translator between virtually all cryptocurrency tokens and fiat. So translator. Why wouldn't you want ISO 222? ISO 222 solves that whole messaging, translation that gets garbled up with the traditional system that dates back to, the 70s, for crying out loud, with Swift, with the MT messaging layer. So why wouldn't you recognize the utility of XRP and ISO 222 and understand that we don't want truncated messages? We don't want, a message to get garbled up, especially when it comes to, and I think this is a great example. I always say it all the time, the language of Greek to the language of Korean. I mean, it's two totally different alphanumeric, messaging standards, if you will. Like I literally look at my keyboard, we talk about even Chinese or Russian, it's totally different, right? You get my point. So you see this example here, and on the screen, let me see if it's big enough for you guys. If it's not, I'm going to come out of the frame for a bit. You can see how this all basically works. And, Corda settler, right? This is big stuff. You see that you have beneficiaries, right? They give you this example, and this is good. It's really easy to understand this. So for one, draw your attention to the left side of the screen. It might be a little bit hard to see because it's a little blurry because it's an old screenshot. You have a beneficiary. You have company A, who's the payer, company B. It literally uses the example of XRP. This is good stuff, guys. I'm telling you, we want to see utility in motion. How's that breaking down? I'm giving you showing you a visual how this works. So it says face value 260 XRP. Due by when? At least I was back then. So December 18th or December 4th, excuse me. Settlement method, mentions that it's null at the time. Status is unsettled, right? Payments, no payments made. Gives an ID, right? But you see XRP at the very, very top. And then it goes to some of these other breakdowns, settlement through Oracle. I guess you could say this is where some of the people from, the quant maxis, and of course, some people even accuse me of being a quant maxi. I'm diversified. I love them all. I love all this technology, right? But here's the thing. Oracle does use quants over ledger. So there is that debate of, okay, well then Max, that's ISO TC 307. Right, it is. But for the purposes of this, let's focus on Corda. You see, for instance, company A, right below where it says other Corda network. Then on the bottom, you have the notary cluster. And then again, over on the right side, company B, other networks, exchange rate, Oracle. But on the very bottom, it says get exchange rate to update the obligation with the new currency. Company A, again, remember that the beneficiary requests the current US dollar value of XRP, so whatever that is in the market, where we're at, like 52 cents, something like that, exchange rate from an exchange rate Oracle, and updates the obligation currency. Look what it says. It functions by verifying that a sent payment was received and then updating the Corda ledger. And most cryptocurrencies will have no issue functioning on it. No issue. Listen to this. However, the first to be integrated, and I want you to pay attention to this, because we always pay attention to XDC. The first is Ripple's XRP. All right, I'll come back in the frame on this one. And that's worth mentioning. That's worth paying attention to, because R3 is beyond massive. We know that. And I'm giving you a little bit more of that deep dive on why that is. But basically speaking, I mean, first to be integrated is XRP. And it also states that, there was, of course, that legal battle a while back, but they basically, had this thing where they resolve this, right? That's the conclusion I came to, that, Ripple and their little disagreement they had, a little tiff, if you will. God knows I've had tiffs in the past. But they solved this problem a long time ago. It's a done deal, right? But it goes on to mention that, basically speaking, it says this gives rise to speculation then, but not now, all right, that this move to make XRP first on core settlement layer is part of the settlement. Well, fast forward a little bit more, right? So I want to share this with you guys. It's only 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And bottom line is this, because we do talk about quant when it comes to ISO TC 307. Quant's overledger is what? Blockchain agnostic. I gave this example to a guy a while back. He says, what happens? Because, he's one of those guys that's like, oh, it's just, Quant's just another ERC20 token. It's garbage. Yeah. Okay. Were you aware that, like he was asking, what happens if ETH goes down? All right. What if their main debt goes down? That would be crazy, right? Absolutely be nuts, right? We've seen it happen with Solana. Well, what about ETH? I'm going to get back to this. Speaking, Quant's overledger can allow for those oh crap moments, because it can immediately switch to another blockchain, right? That was the key thing. If you think I'm BSing you on it, that's public knowledge. You can do a Google search on that and find out for yourself. Now, Corda, again, is currency agnostic. You kind of have a breakdown of how this all works. So again, not dismissing the old traditional systems, or the current systems, if you will. So we already have, for instance, with Quant, ISO TC 307, that blockchain agnostic overledger platform. Okay, that's blockchain agnostic. What about current fiat agnostic? I know it sounds nuts, right? But Corda gets that job done. So I'm thinking, again, back to the whole thing of the ice cream. I know it sounds insane, but the two complement each other, right? So an R3 employer in this video explains the new seller's mechanics in the following video. And I know this is old news, but again, were you aware of this? So I want to play this. Please smash that like. Hopefully you appreciate this, especially if you hold XRP. And we're going to get into a little bit more why this is such a big deal. So let's go ahead and play this. Thanks for being here on a Friday. Congrats. You made it to the end of your work week. Chill, relax with the community. Say hello to fellow community members and so on. We appreciate you being here. Here we go.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to the demonstration of Corda Settler, the open source Corda app built to help Corda users settle transactions on any rail. Transactions usually refer to an exchange of one asset for another. One leg of the transaction creates an obligation to complete the other leg. Corda Settler allows users to complete that second leg on any system, whether that's a non-blockchain rail, a cryptocurrency system, or on Corda directly. If the second leg is not on Corda, it just needs to provide two integration points, one for users to initiate payments and another to confirm payment status. The following animation will show a network of participants using Corda Settler. Company A and Company B are the counterparties. They are using a notary service on Corda, and they both have access to nodes in other payment systems. For this demo, XRP is the chosen payments rail. This animation will be available as a click-through on r3.com. From a transaction on Corda, Company B has an obligation to pay Company A $100. As the beneficiary, Company A can choose the currency in which they'd like to be paid. In this case, Company A chooses XRP. To update the obligation, Company A will get the current exchange rate from an exchange rate oracle, and then update the obligation with the new currency and amount. Having made these changes, Company A obtains a signature from the notary service and distributes the obligation to Company B. Corda Settler also allows users to add additional terms, such as the desired payment address on the XRP network. Company A updates the obligation again and distributes it. Company B is now ready to settle this obligation, and so initiates a transaction from their XRP node. This obligation can be settled in one or many transactions. Company B gets a payment submission confirmation from the XRP network, updates the obligation with the transaction hash, and sends it to Company A and the settlement oracle. Now the settlement oracle knows which transaction reference to query for completion. The settlement oracle queries the XRP network for the status of transactions with the specified transaction ID. When Company B's payment has been confirmed, the settlement oracle marks the obligation settled, obtains a notary signature, and distributes the updated obligation to Company A and Company B. The obligation is now settled, and the counterparties have completed the second leg of their transaction. This has shown an important link between assets and applications on Corda and other settlement systems. We're excited to enable additional settlement rails over the next few months. Thanks for watching.
Very educational. He did a better job explaining it because, he has actual visuals and he's connecting it. I don't have those tools, obviously. But yeah, there you go. Like that's a big deal. Now, a little bit more about this real quick before we get into some of the other material that we have tonight. I'm going to pull up some more, and let me just see where I was last at real quick. So, of course, there was that, and it was a nice explainer. I thought he did a good job with that, right? So I'm just go ahead and refresh this page real quick. And it's a little bit more about what he was just talking about. So draw your attention back to this, okay? So that guy, right, he goes by the name of David, right? And David basically, David Nickel basically was saying that, receiving party in Corda initiated transaction doesn't have to use Corda to receive the payment, right? And the sending party doesn't have to use XRP or any cryptocurrency for that matter. The elements are simple. The transaction must be broadcast and noted as sent, and the transaction must be confirmed and received. This means that you could send, listen to this, guys, right? Just in case you're kind of drifting off, you can basically send XRP or dollars, and the user could use something entirely new in order to receive in whatever currency they like, meaning that banks, here's the juicy stuff, and other financial institutions can build on the network with little overhead. They don't have to fully integrate with R3's tech stack if all they want to do is enable their clients to receive what? Deposits from Corda-enabled services. Right. So if anything, it's like, what about all these what-if moments? Yeah, we're more than prepared for the what-if. You got to be prepared for the what-if, or otherwise when that what-if scenario happens, what do you do? All right. I want to jump into this next part of what we have. So what about Swift? Okay, that's a great question. What about Swift, right? Always gets mentioned. So Swift to use XRP through what? R3? Is that solid? Well, how about this report? Let's fast forward to 2023 now, right? So 2 years from that last post. Now we're back into 2023. And basically speaking, what you see here is Swift to use XRP through R3. And again, this is why I want to give you more of that breakdown of why this is significant. Because for some people, they just, I don't know, maybe you dismiss the whole thing with R3. I don't think you should. When we talk about being massive, it's massive. I mean, plain as day, XRP, Swift, R3. I mean, for those who have done more of their own research and understand how big that is, that would draw anybody's attention who does proper research, right? So, like it says, and this is back last July, in a groundbreaking move that has sent Ripple through the financial industry, Swift, the world's leading financial messaging service, has revealed its partnership with R3, of course, a prominent blockchain firm, right? We get it. This collaboration aims to revolutionize the cross-border payment landscape by integrating XRP into Swift's global payments and innovation GPI platform. This is where I still don't understand why people say, Swift mentioned a long time ago that they could use XRP, or, we saw that Ripple is going to use, they were the first to basically go public and say that they're going to use ISO 2022. The point is just doing some basic reading and seeing and connecting it from the past, right? That's where you got to go back a few years, and then you can take it to the present. Do you understand now how this all comes together? So the move is expected to unlock new levels of efficiency and speed in international transactions, right? Not just, what's happening in Europe or, so on. Some people say, well, what's going on in the United States is not going to matter because the United States is never going to get on board yet. It is going to get on board. You just got to look into it. We do know that the United States is going to show up to the big show of full implementation of ISO 222 when? November of 2025. And yes, that could get delayed. Don't get me wrong. A lot of indicators show that it won't. A lot of indicators also show that if you have Bitcoin spot ETFs going on with these deadlines coming up, was it the 13th on roughly 15 of them on the report that we showed on Monday, right? The SEC's deadline is either the 13th or somewhere around the 15th, right? So at least 15 of them. That's huge. And then we talk about going into the end of the year, and then of course 2024. What's going to happen with that? So Henry Brown, I think you mentioned on the brief little X space we had, Twitter space. What about Max? What do you think about 2024? You always like, I mentioned 2025. Yeah, the start may very well be 2024, but for me, when we talk about like all-time highs, and that's what I'm mainly interested in, is all-time highs. I honestly still think it's late 2025 going into 2026, right? To me, that just it makes sense. We could agree or disagree. I get criticized about dates. Hey, I don't care. My point is, that's how I feel, right? You guys do what you got to do, but the point is the material, the research. So again, the move is expected to unlock new levels of efficiency and speed for international transactions, potentially reshaping the way financial institutions conduct business globally. And then again, plain as day, just in case you missed it, Swift and R3 join hands. I know for some of you guys already know this, but for a lot of people, maybe you knew about it, maybe you heard about it, you just don't understand the nitty gritty behind it. And I want you guys to be able to understand, because here it's not just about providing news. We want to give you some of that, deep dive, getting into why this all makes sense. So basically speaking, there's of course that strategic alliance, but the point is this right here. This is a significant milestone. Why? And there it is. The adoption of blockchain and digital assets by traditional financial sector. The path towards mass adoption, right, is still having a settler that recognizes the old systems, recognizes the current systems, and even this new technology of, what Ripple brings to the table, or some of these other ones. As we know, Swift, like it says, the backbone across border transactions. I don't feel as though Swift gets replaced. I know when people say, XRP replaces Swift. I think it's more like, again, and I think it shows us the proof in the pudding. XRP upgrades Swift. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if people really get that, right? It's kind of like Microsoft. How many times have we seen all these different levels of operating systems? Like, was Microsoft going to just, settle to just be, MS-DOS? No, they didn't. They branched into Windows, and there's been multiple Windows since then. So, I'm looking at blockchain and distributed ledger technologies, and to a sense, kind of like that aspect. It's not that you're replacing, Microsoft, for instance, right? But you're upgrading Windows. It's like DLT, where it's upgrades. It's not replacing. It's saying, hey, Swift, there's thousands of people that work for you worldwide, right? They're all just going to be retired and, go off into the sunset or lose their jobs. I mean, that's just absurd. No, it's an upgrade. So anyway, getting into this, Swift recognized the demand for faster and cost-effective payments, right? Swift, of course, recognized the need for innovative solutions to enhance their existing infrastructure. Of course, it talked about this whole thing of incorporating XRP. I want to get to this part real quick. It talks about by incorporating XRP into Swift's GPI platform through R3's Corda. Again, you see how I tie this in? The partnership aims to provide financial institutions with more streamlined and cost-efficient option for conducting global transactions. And the rest of this basically is a lot of what we already know. Now, I'm going to take you to, I guess you could say a recent report. This from USA Today. This was reported today, you guys. Okay, so this is good stuff, because I know some of you guys, Max, can you give me some of the recent news? Here's the recent news. So please smash that like. Let's double check how we're doing on likes. We're at 46 likes. I appreciate you guys. But the bottom line is this: reported from USA Today, Ripple moves 107 million XRP to these top platforms. Here's the hidden goal. Do you not have, or you're not paying attention to this? Pay attention to this. I know you're having a good time. You're kicking back. You're enjoying a brewski, whatever the case be. Hey, we want that, right? But guys, you do show up for a show, right? And you want to get some of that content. So I want you to see this real quick, straight from the mainstream news. Yeah, mainstream news. USA Today is still mainstream news. So goes on to mention that the important point here in regards to this is this real quick. Yeah, look at this. This is from Whale Alert. basically speaking, they were talking about this anonymous wallet or wallets, right? Plural, to move a big amount of XRP, two chunks. Listen to this, guys, of roughly 30 million coins each to two popular exchanges. Now, what exchanges, right? But it states one important point here is that both of these platforms are related to Ripple payments, and that's the new way we call Ripple's formerly known as on-demand liquidity. I'm still going to call on-demand liquidity. You know what I mean? That's what I know. I guess I'll eventually get to the point where I hop on the bandwagon and call it Ripple payments because that's what it's called. I mean, it's kind of like even with X, right? It's like, some of us still call it Twitter, but it's X. It's kind of got to get in with the times. But here's what I'm going to point out to you. There's details, and this is reported today, guys. Again, you want some of that new news. Reveal that these anonymous wallets are connected to blockchain behemoth Ripple. 30,400,000 XRP, which is valued at the time that this was posted. Apparently, this was posted yesterday, but USA Today came out with the article today that $15,831,100 worth, US dollars worth of XRP was transferred from unknown wallet to Bitso, and of course their particular URL. You can nerd it out if you want. But like it says, Ripple shovels 107 million XRP to ODL platforms or Ripple payment platforms, right? Whale Alert spotted the following loans transferred to Mexican exchange and crypto unicorn Bitso on October 4th and even the 5th. So just a couple days ago. 20,400,000 XRP, 30,400,000 XRP, and then the last chunk of 26,800, or excuse me, 26,800,000 XRP. Maybe on the previous ones I didn't read it right, but you get my point. So 20,000, I said 20,000, 20,400,000. Second chunk, 30,400,000, and last chunk, 26,800,000. Right, XRP. And then last chunk, 29,300,000. So I apologize if I didn't read that right. XRP were shoveled to the EU, European Union-based Bitstamp exchange. What's going on with that, right? So in total, that is just slightly under 107 million XRP evaluated at slightly more than 56 million in fiat. I mean, we're always paying attention what the whales do, right? There's an example. Details provided by XRP-focused analytics platform BitHomp show that both of these sending wallets are connected to Ripple, fintech company based, of course, in San Francisco and spearheaded by the one and only Brad Garlinghouse. It goes on to also mention that both Bitso and Bitstamp do, in fact, collaborate with Ripple on XRP cross-border payments. And it also goes on to mention that ODL is based on RippleNet. We know that. Allows any transfer. Yeah, we got that point, right? Bitso serves as an ODL platform, of course, also in Latin America. Bitstamp works in the same way in Europe. Recently, Ripple decided to rebrand ODL. We know about that too. So I thought I'd give that to you guys in regards to that report. Cool Cat on the far right, there's your cousin, apparently. And that's some interesting outfit from some lady. Anyway, enough about that. We're going to get to the next part of this real quick. And before I get back into the comments, I want to share this with you. And basically, it's this right here. And it's from Forbes. So yesterday, I think it was Legrand Commission share this. I want to reshare this with you guys, just in case you didn't tune in yesterday. So BlackRock Insider Primes, and again, from Forbes, okay? You got to keep in mind, Forbes had that 58,000 XRP report or whatever, and then they pulled it. So here's another report. BlackRock Insider primes crypto for a huge 17.7 trillion Wall Street earthquake that could be about to hit the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. They didn't have to list XRP here. They could just mention, like a lot of other outlets just do, Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? You know how many outlets do that all the time. But the bottom line is, like it says, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, including ETH and even XRP, have been rocked by the Federal Reserve this year, creating what could be becoming, a Bitcoin price nightmare, right? Some people are kind of getting shaken out by it and so on. But listen to this. BTC price up almost 70% so far this year. That is true. This is where some people say, well, it is a bull market. It's not a bear market. It still feels bearish. Even I've done the bull run thesis. I can see both sides, right? Anyway, the world's largest fund manager, BlackRock, what was it? They helped contribute around, because they're worth 10 trillion in assets. They helped drive a surge of Wall Street Bitcoin to, peak interest in regards to crypto. BlackRock stated that they are predicting only a matter of months, right? Like months, not years, but months until the SEC approves long-awaited Bitcoin spot exchange traded ETFs. We showed you from that report on the chart some of the deadlines, right? But basically, it's going to give funds that manage 17.7 trillion worth of assets the green light. And again, back to what Larry Fink was saying, to tokenize that. I can't expect that all the assets will be tokenized. Maybe. I mean, that would be huge, right? But even if we lowball some of this stuff, I mean, come on, do the math on it. That comes to the overall crypto market, and it's just you just start seeing bumps and bumps and bumps and bumps and bumps in regards to the overall market. I mean, I think we're going to absolutely smoke 2021. Like it's just we're going to leave it in the dust. Absolutely going to leave it in the dust, because even if you haven't done more of your own research, if you understand basic math, right, you will understand that these assets to be tokenized and brought on chain, if you will, to the overall scheme of things, the overall crypto market, you don't even have to know jack diddly squat about the use case of Ripple's XRP or Quant or Stellar or anything. These things are ISO TC 307, ISO 222, or ISO period. And you could come to the conclusion that these huge, big institutional players are bringing this to crypto. So again, like I was talking about yesterday, what does that mean for you who holds some of these digital assets? I honestly still say it. I mentioned this yesterday. This tells me that we're going to have a shift where the stock market will always, I guess you could say, be the one that's labeled as the volatile market. And then crypto, when we get that clarity, and we will get that clarity, I just think of that in itself is not a matter of if, it's just when. Then crypto becomes the new standard, okay? Because it's a non-volatile market, and then this fuels the whole the debate of like Brad Garlinghouse stating, 99% of this all of what's currently out there goes away. So if 99% of it goes away and you hold a lot of garbage, again, if you're new to our program, you might want to consider taking profits, or if it's meme token garbage, just dumping your whole position. Not now, obviously. If you're married to something because you have to be, then don't listen to, in my opinion, a content creator is going to tell you, or influencer, hey, this is the greatest meme token. Look what the bull market that we're in, and so on. And you know what? You just need to hold this a little bit longer. Hey, to hell with that. Get rid of your garbage once it becomes profitable, because it will become, some of it, not all of it, some of it will become profitable. How we know that? Even on CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, how many times have you seen in a bull market something that was garbage that lay dormant for like a few years, nothing, and then boom, huge spike out of nowhere, right? If you held that garbage, I'm just saying, maybe you could finally have something with it. But by all means, don't hold trash. Hey, do we hold trash in our house? Do we store trash when it needs to be thrown away? No, we don't. We throw it away, right? But in crypto, there's a lot of trash that needs to be thrown away. So again, at some point, you're holding this trash for a long time, make sure at some point you throw it away, or take some of your scrap metals, if you will, right? And take it down to the aluminum place and cash out. You get what I'm saying, right? This is a crazy analogy. Anyway, this last part before we kick it finally back in the comments, and that is two different things, not the last thing. So I want to share this. This is from Tokenizer, and he's a great content creator. In my opinion, he's the GOAT when it comes to covering and blinking in like, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 different projects. Tokenizer makes a good point, and this is good for our outline tonight. He says he's been seeing more negativity and pessimism lately, right? I even saw people, like selling their quant. This guy claimed that he bought like 100,000 worth of quant a few years ago, and he's just like, I don't believe it no more. I'm selling it for 25,000. You were going to sell that in bearish times? You're not going to even wait because you don't believe in this stuff anymore? He said that, I forget the guy's name, but I think it's like Quant. Oh man, I I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not that I'm not trying to go after this guy, but anyway, he basically stated that he doesn't see a bull market ever happening. Like, come on, man. I mean, even in stocks, things will eventually go bullish, right? Anyway, so he dumped his position, had over 100,000 worth. He settled for 25K. If you can imagine this, I don't even know what he's doing after that. After I read that part, I was like, I don't even care. But anyway, back to tokenizer real quick. He says he's been seeing more negativity and pessimism lately. Crypto is done for. Like, are you kidding me? No money left to be made. The next Great Depression, right? The next Great Depression, I don't think is crypto. I want you guys to hear this for a second. I don't think it's crypto at all. I think the next Great Depression could very well be the next stock market crash. All right. And if you think about it, like, you know, the big one of the 20th century, right, happened in 1929, the famous stock market crash in 1929. So it's like, I'm not going to say that, you know, it's going to happen 2029, right? But if the dollar crashes, you know what I mean? It's like, what's it going to do with the stock market? Or how about this? Maybe the stock market crashes first, then the dollar crashes, right? It's either going to be one or the other. Maybe it's both at the same time. I don't know. What kind of demand will that create for crypto? So this whole thing of the next Great Depression, it may very well be because of what's triggered from the stock market. Because again, you know, that's considered volatile. People will say, well, it's also going to be crypto. But what about when we separate ourselves from stocks? You know, currently, yes, that's a valid point. You know, we're not separated from stocks. But you want to know something? With the clarity, we will. And we see the institutional money pouring in like crazy. That tells you right there something big is about to happen. Hence why I'm always going to reference Phil Collins in the air tonight. Yeah, like maybe we should, like, you know, I wish YouTube didn't have the copyright crap. You know, I would love to play Phil Collins in the air tonight, just for like a few seconds, because I can feel it in the air tonight. I feel as though we are getting this momentum, this shift. You know, some people say you're just preaching hopium, like, you know, Will Fix, people are watching him, they're like, oh man, you know, take another hit off that hopium, right? Well, you want to know something? I think Will Fix is right. You know, people do like hope. All this, to a sense, is hope. You're hoping, you know, and praying for that bull market or the utility run and so on. And is that so bad to have hope? Can you imagine you being a person with no hope? At the end of the day, I don't care who you are, right? I don't care if you're, you know, atheist, agnostic, believer, whatever the case be. When it comes to crypto, we all, to a degree, have hope. That's why we invest in this stuff. We have a hope and belief that this is going to be, you know, for me at least, and most of you guys, especially the ones we cover, the Hederas, the Quants, the XRPs, XLMs, the BSVs, you name it, Algo. Our hope and our belief is that, you know, these are going to give us a better life. We are hoping for a better life, for crying out loud. So yeah, I think that's accurate to state that. So yeah, Will Fix was saying, you know, take another hit off the hopium. Yeah, I guess so. Take another hit off of that, because you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. So the next Great Depression sounds bad, horrible. Well, what kind of demand will that create for crypto? The world's turning to ish. Seems like it. But how do we come up? Do we join everybody else with the trash and the garbage and the same normal thing that we've been doing day in, day out? And then we, you know, work at a company for their whole life, and nothing against it if you've done it, right? This, you know, one company, same thing every day, you know, from age 18 or whatever, or maybe 22, and you may graduate college, I don't know, to 65. And then 65 comes, I'm going to retire. And then what? We're going to enjoy everything when we're super old. And if you're already old, hey, you know what? Shout out to you for recognizing that you still have that hope for something better in your life. My God. Or if not for your life, for your legacy, your kids, your grandkids, and so on. Anyway, much of this stems from people getting impatient due to the bear market. I've seen so many cases lately where so many people are so freaking impatient about that. They lose their hope, but they haven't done more of their own research. And what do we know? These cycles, and typically speaking, they're 4-year cycles. All right, pay attention to this, right? So things went bull last time around in 2020. Where are we at right now? We're towards the end, right? This fourth quarter of 2023, going into 2024. Again, 4-year cycles. I'm paying attention to it, but do most of the mainstream pay attention to it? I don't think they do. I hope you guys do. I think most of you do. Tokenizer states this is what they think, or this is what they want you to think. You have to realize how small this market still is. It is. Just because we saw it pull back from 3 to 4 trillion, and we're now at, roughly, well, this is 1.09 trillion, but really like what, 1.10, 11, around that area. But, it's still a small market. We're still so early. So if we're early, this is where I have a problem with some people. It's like, you're going to complain about the market being down and you don't get the greater picture. Come on, that's a blessing in disguise. You want to accumulate during distressed prices. I mean, it's a simple case of buying low, selling high. I know it sounds corny, but you want to do that all day long. People have a used car industry, right? You want to buy a car for cheap, a good one, right? And then you want to do a markup, right? It's just simple free enterprise. It's the beauty of recognizing that. All right, so now this may sound like a lot, but let's look at some other assets, right? Equities. This is where I love Tokenizer. He gives you the facts. He gives you the numbers. Equities, 109 trillion, right? This is the 2023 report. What about bonds? We talked about bonds earlier. 126 trillion, okay? Why am I showing you this for a second, Because I want you to understand, when Larry Fink, who is the head of the largest asset custodian company in the world, BlackRock, he says no, that we're not. Again, it's because of taxes, guys. It's no brainer. He's not going to admit to that, because then that would take a dent into their 10 trillion, would it not? You don't want 10 trillion assets and all of a sudden half of that goes to taxes. So that's smart, right? So bonds, 126 trillion according to 2022 report. Foreign exchange, 2.4 quadrillion, right? What do you have when you have equities come into crypto? What do you have when you have bonds come into crypto? Some of you guys are like, I don't ever see this whole thing, Ripple's XRP, reaching this crazy market cap of $10,000. Excuse me. That was my Crypto Hulk impersonation of the night. Hopefully you liked it. Anyway, I don't, you don't see it, right? This right here is where I see this crazy market cap. All right, I'm just being honest, because then I say to myself, equities market, yeah, Larry Fink recognizes that. So shouldn't we recognize that? Boom, there you go. How about bonds? Yeah, boom, there you go. That's a lot of money. And I know some people say, well, we're talking about quadrillions and so on. Even with foreign exchange, what about that being a game changer, right? And we've seen examples of that. Did we not talk about JASMY a lot? The whole thing of yen-denominated stable coins. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. All right, look at this. Let's talk about the tech sector. Currently, the blockchain, not crypto, all right, this to be fair, industry is valued at $20 billion. Internet of Things. We will get into that JASMY coverage in a bit. I want you to listen to this. Even if you're like, I don't want to hear this, Max. I just want the JASMY coverage. You should listen to this, because IoT affects you as a JASMY holder, does it not? Absolutely. IoT is $952 billion. Fintech, 194 billion. Cloud. All right. We talked about that example earlier. Don't you love how I tie some of this in? That's why I was talking about R3 earlier. We were talking about R3 and it mentioned cloud. That sector, that's why that's so big, guys. $484 billion worth. All right. This is almost done. How do we know blockchain crypto can actually reach these valuations? Well, Tokenizer states, and I'm going to state it to you as well, pay attention to what the big names are focusing on. And this is why when we get to that JASMY coverage for the night, we're going to tie in what Mr. Warren Buffett, who's a big name, is he not? One time he was like number 2 or maybe number 1 temporarily richest man in the world. But what the big names are focusing on, they're focusing on digital identities, mobile wallets, digitalization, tokenization, right? BlackRock, smart cities. Look at that. I know for a fact Tokenizer doesn't have JASMY tagged here, and a lot of content creators don't, because maybe they just haven't looked into it yet. Maybe they just don't take it serious. This is no jab at Tokenizer. I have nothing but love and respect for Tokenizer. Are you kidding me? We're going to get him on the show again at some point. But the key thing is smart cities is referenced. And then again, back up to the top. I know this is not JASMY saying IoT is referenced. And I know that, I'm not oblivious to think, that it's just IoT is only JASMY. Of course not. There's IOTA, there's Energy Web Token, on and on and on, right? But again, tokenization, smart cities, and CBDCs, that right there, those three things are just game changer. And of course, when we talk about mobile wallets, that's a big deal, you know, obviously with Stellar and so on and some of the other ones. But all these tie right back to blockchain in some way, shape, or form. Here's some quick examples. I don't hold Energy Web Token yet, but it's on my list. But like digital IDs, Energy Web Token, mobile wallets, you know, for instance, Stellar, like I mentioned the other one, nothing against if you hold it. Digitalization, XDC, Morpheus Network, tokenization, Algo, right? Even has SDX in there, right? Like it says, not a crypto, right? Even R3, obviously not a crypto. That's not the point. Distributed ledger technologies. How about smart cities, Quant, Casper? Let's throw in, for instance, JASMY, right? We have to. CBDCs, XRP, XLM. So again, you have an idea about this. I'm not going to read all of it. And basically speaking, the reality is that this market is going to continue growing exponentially over the next decade, right? The utility run is imminent to say the least. And, you know, that's where it's basically at. I had a little bit more in regards to this. I'll share on some other day because I really got really heavily into this and I need to get back into the comments. So I hope you guys really appreciated the content tonight for our Ripple XRP coverage and tying some other things in regards to it, like a little bit of the JASMY, a little bit of the maybe some Stellar, talking about obviously Corda. It's big. I think it's absolutely huge. And when you understand the greater scheme of things, it makes you realize, you want to know something? I understand now the bigger picture. And when we talk about talking to friends, loved ones, colleagues, and so on, I hate to say it, but we do need to back it up. You know, it can't be the typical old conversation of, hey, you know, do you know about Bitcoin? Of course, most people have heard about Bitcoin, right? We need to start talking about other ones, right? Your XRPs of the world, tying R3 and explaining these other things that are tied into the bigger picture. And if you know about it, it sounds so much more impressive compared to just doing the same old thing. Here's the thing, right? So many people have heard the same old spiel, right, of Bitcoin. They're not bought into that, right? They may never even be bought into what we just talked about tonight when it comes to this whole thing, XRP and R3. But want to know something? It's at least some other different form of providing them valuable information that they may not have been aware of. How do you explain that on terms for people they can understand it a little bit better? Maybe they can relate more to real use case compared to, well, is this just a store of value? Well, who's the guy behind Bitcoin? He's not, you know, no one really knows who he is. That doesn't sound too good. People want to be able to identify real people with real technologies and understand the use case. You know, say what you want, at least with Brad Garlinghouse, you know who that is. You know, it is what it is.